What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. Today, we're going to be doing my full review of the Miguron Keryx budget. Let's get into it. I'm really excited to do this one with you all today. The Keryx was one of my favorite Miguron premium knives because you're getting that N390 titanium with milled scales for under 200 bucks. And they gave you a slightly more premium-esque budget knife here because this one is one of the first, to my knowledge, Miguron budget knives that has micarta instead of just G10. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do some profile comparisons. We're going to check the weight, and then we'll jump into my thoughts and impressions. Let's kick it off with a couple of budget knife comparisons. Here it is against the 2023 knife of the year for the budget realm, and that's the Miguron Keryx. Now, I really like the Keryx. I'm going to move this up just a touch, guys. I really loved the Keryx in 2023. I felt like it offered you a ton. And here they come offering the budget Keryx, which I think was a really smart move. Very comparable in size. Here's one of my favorite more recent releases from Civivi. That's the Bull Tusk. You can see the Keryx is definitely like a medium EDC, great carry size, still going to give you full purchase. I really like this one. I'm super excited about it. Let's go ahead and bring out the Spyderco Shaman for another full-size comparison. You can see the Keryx just a little bit smaller. We'll bring the Keryx back out here for profile comparison in just a sec. But let's bring the Spyderco Para 3 out here. The Para 3 is going to be really good for size comparison because it's very similar. A little bit more length on both, but you know, the ergos, because you get that dedicated forged choil when you look about where you have your handle position when you go behind, you actually have more handle here and not quite as much cutting path. So there's your profile comparisons. Let's do close profile real quick before we get into thickness and weight. This one here, man, just super impressive. I started to do that upside down. Great close profile. The flipper tab does make it a little bit taller than you see here on the Keryx, but it's really not that bad at all. It's very comparable when you bring them all up to the top. Keryx is a little bit shorter, and the Para 3, you know, it's just such a great compact sized knife. We'll do profile in just a second. I forgot to do measurements for those out there that like to have the inches instead of the profile comparisons. There you go. You have just under 8 inches at 7 3/4. You have just above 3.5 inches for overall blade length, and you have right at 3 inches of cutting edge. All right, we've got all the profiles out of the way. Let's do thickness. You can see how to carry in pocket. So it is a little bit thicker than the Para 3, as you can see here, guys. But with the Para 3, you have flat scales. On the Miguron, they're actually now doing contoured scales. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So you can see overall thickness is still the same, but when you look down at them, you can see you have the chamfering and a very subtle, and it might be easier to see it from this side, a very subtle contouring that's happening on there. It's just enough to make a difference, and then the radius edges that are chamfered down, it's definitely making a difference here. Let's check the weight. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I think I'm laying on my, I'm laying on my hanks. Let's see here. Coming in at 4 ounces. I'm a little surprised at that because it didn't feel super heavy, but yeah, I guess 4 ounces does kind of make sense. It is pretty substantial in hand. So 4 ounces, not a deal breaker for me for a knife that has full steel liners, steel liner lock, and you get the flipper tab, G10 backspacer, titanium pocket clip. This continues to be one of my concerns with Migurons here. Now, it's not going to really show too much here. We're going to keep this kind of very similar to going into the jeans pocket, but you can see when you get past the initial push, goes in fine, and then when you get here, it's really tight to get it all the way up to the top there. And I'm not sure if that'll show up on camera. It's snug. It'll get there, but it is snug. And then pulling out, it works just fine. No issues with the bite to go in and the bite to go out, but a little tight here. I'd like to see just a little bit more clearance, like you see here on the Morial. Hopefully that, well, let me move my finger out of the way. That will really show up on camera, the difference here. I like the clearance for that pocket clip on the Morial just a little bit better here. That's a little thin down, but in all fairness, it's not impeding it at all. Let's talk about ergos real quick. So you have a just under, for me, 4-finger grip, but it's very comfortable. I'm barely hanging off of the back there, so very comfortable to use. And that power grip, that gorilla grip, and then I have just enough space there, you can see, to use this trigger pull. That's going to be nice for doing those detailed cuts out on the tip. It's also very comfortable in the pinch grip. This little notch here is kind of where my middle finger lands, and then I land right here on the top of that little, I don't know what you would call that clip right there. So detailed cuts, draw cuts, very easy to do with this one. So very comfortable. I don't feel any hot spots. Now, I like the aggressive jimping for the flipper tab, but I do want to let you know, if you have the larger hands and you're trying to squeeze and make sure that you got as much hand on the handle as you can, you are going to feel that this one it does have a little bit of bite, it is a little sharp, and I do want to fully disclose that. The Keryx, like the Morial, has a really long, generous lock bar. So for me, I like to hit it right about here, let it drop to the thumb, and then let it close. It's very nice. And then same thing here. You can 2-finger lift this one, start to close it, and then just like that. If you like to do the slide over, you just gotta be conscious. You can get it up here, but it's really tight. If you come down here where they radius it a little bit more to get to it, it's very easy to get to. Very, very easy. Like the reverse flick, it's very nice on here. I would say the detent is tuned for the flipper tab. It feels a little bit more snappy on the flipper tab than it does on the opening hole. I would give the flipper tab, I'd give it a solid 7. I would say the reverse flick's like a 6.5. Like, you can tell, it's very hard to tell, but when you flip them, you can kind of tell that it feels just more snappy, like it's dialed for that. Now you can do a little bit of a lock bar adjustment and make it feel stronger for the reverse flick, but then it's going to be like a super heavy detent when you go to hit that flipper tab. Jimping on here, as I mentioned a minute ago, very aggressive. I like the smaller, tighter jimping that wraps around. That way, if you want to push, you can, and you have that jimping on there. But it's so thick and aggressive, it works really well. I love this blade shape. This is a great sheep's foot blade shape. You got a little tiny bit of belly here. It's not going to be meant for doing like a lot of rock cutting, but it'll work. It'll get it done. And then you have a little bit of an acute tip, so you can do some puncturing with this one, especially if you come in at a little bit of an angle. You can just bloop and then go right into your cut. So I like that a ton. You do have relief on the inside here. I'm not sure how well that'll show up, so let me make sure it's on moonlight too. You got the relief cut on the inside here, which, again, it is surprising that it's a 4-ounce knife because they have that relief cut on there. They use the G10 backspacer. I like that. They have the jimping back here as well, so when you're back in this position here and you're doing the detailed work, if you're not doing the trigger pull, you got just maximum coverage on the thumb with that jimping. And then when you pull up to the trigger pull, for me, I just got to slide up on the knife entirely. It is a little sharp on these corners here. Just keep that in mind, but it's not awful. It's a little pokey though. It's a little pokey. Not awful, but it is pokey. Let's go ahead and head down to the garage and check out the cutting performance on the Keryx. Okay, we're down in the garage. We got the budget Keryx. Really interested to see how the 14C28 on this one is, and very excited to actually get the full cut test in on this one a little bit later, because this is a fantastic blade shape. It covers so many different types of cutting tasks. Very nice factory edge. Miguron is doing a killer job with their 14C28N and their factory edges as well. I'm not quite sure. I think I'm hitting the sharpening choil here when I go into this cut. I think that's what the problem is. I need to back off a little bit. Well, that wasn't the factory edge. I think that might have been, yeah, the paper rolling a little bit. You can see it's got a really hair shaving, hair popping edge. Let me get into the cardboard. This is not an edge retention test. This is just how does it feel? And right out the gate, just doing that, I was definitely feeling this jimping here, digging into the hand a little bit. They changed it, and I'll talk about it up at the table, but they changed that change from a front flipper to a flipper tab has its pros and its cons, 100% sure. 100%, but you can see this is just the laser beam, guys. The Satin 14. Oh, I went into the sharpening choil. You can see it there. I went into the sharpening choil and it got hung up. You can see 100%, very, very good edge, very good for power cutting and moving through this cardboard. And while it isn't an edge retention test, we are going to do more than just a couple of passes. I want to see what this will do on that paper after we go through some cuts. And I am trying my best to keep it here in the middle when I move through this, so I'm somewhat being consistent with where I'm testing the edge. That's weird that it's getting hung up there. This one here has my label on it, so I have to do all my cuts this way. And we're going through some tape, so we'll see if it gums up any. We're through the label, so I can flip it over now. But very impressive, and just to kind of show on camera, I will do more of this on the actual kind of cutting test. I do that a little bit different because I bring out different types of material here to demonstrate how it's performing, but I just wanted to just show you, man. They do such a great job on their factory edges as I lose my grip. But you can see it's all gummed up. I'm just gonna really quickly grab some goof off, whatever it's called. Piece of cardboard must have flew past the camera. Let me just get the goo off, and I'll do this on camera so you guys can kind of see. This will make sure that the tape isn't what's getting hung up on the paper when it runs through, but I'm not gonna sharpen it or strop it. I just kind of want to see what it looks like. And this is citrusy, has such a great smell. I just want to see how it'll move through the paper after just hitting a little bit of cardboard. Was there a piece of bad cardboard in there that chipped it up rather, and keep the adhesive from being a factor of did it affect the edge. And the Goo Gone always does such a good job of making sure that it's not sticky. All right, let's see. Did it do anything? Not at all. Not at all. It's not even, truth be told, and this is really thin paper, it didn't do anything to that edge at all. That is really impressive. Oops, as I tear it. It wants to roll. It lost a little bit of bite. Like that first dig in the middle there, it lost a little bit of bite. So I might strop it, but 14C28N would have a still very good working edge for a long time. That's one of the things that I like about it. Let's go ahead and kick it back up to the table and finish the review. So as you saw, they continue to impress with their 14C28N, guys. And I just feel like when 14C28N is done well and you have a good factory edge, this one's a little bit of a higher or steeper angle, so it's going to be a little bit tougher. Not going to chip as much. I just feel like 14C28N really does punch above its pay grade. I feel like it's a very competitive budget seal that I like on a lot of these knives. I really like the looks on this one. I forgot to mention this does definitely have the bearings and the pivot. We'll check out in the disassembly to see if this also is the plastic with the plastic caged with the ceramic ball bearings. But really nice action. I just really like this one a lot. I haven't really thumb flicked it. Yeah, it's okay. I personally would be just reverse flicking, flipper tabbing this one. This one here has nice lockup, coming in at 40%. Let's go ahead and get the old beaver tail out here. Let's check the lockup. There you go. I think I bounced. Disengaging the lock because it was an accident. Whoops. We're not batoning with our knives. There we go. Another accident. Man, it's been 6 months. Can't believe I'm having another accident here. One more. Nice. Nice solid lockup. No issues with the Miguron whatsoever. And I haven't even disassembled this one. I did clean it. I wiped it off just to make sure that there was no lube there, at least on the interface. Great close profile, guys. What else can I say about this one? I really liked the premium Keryx. The micarta on here seems to be done nice. It's very textured. I do believe when I took this down for the cut test, I did a little bit of mineral oil just to treat it. It felt kind of dry, which is nice because it makes it grippy, but a little bit of mineral oil on here will help with the patina if you want it to look darker, but it'll just condition your carbon fiber and your micarta to make sure that it stays in good shape, that it holds up over time, that it's not going to deteriorate. And, you know, I did just a little bit so that I didn't lose the grippy texture nature of it. So really like this one, guys. It's just such a good looking knife. Now, with the micarta, which I'm assuming must be a little bit more expensive to make scales out of than it is for G10, because you do have shrinking and swelling and all that stuff that happens with these materials. It's probably a little bit more involved in the process. You do have, again, the radius scale here. So you have where it's contoured over and chamfered down. So a little bit of extra milling time on there. So this one's coming in a little bit more expensive than some of the original premium Migurons that have just the G10. So the G10 ones generally are coming in at about 50. This one here, I believe, was coming in at 59. My editor may have to correct me if I've stated that wrong. Captive pivot, all T8 hardware. Miguron just absolutely nailing it on their budget lineup. Just such a good looking knife, great action. You know, when I was in the live stream, I was like, I think I might just get rid of the flipper tab and just have it a reverse flick. But after spending some more time with it, I really don't know. I like having the dual means of deployment. When I was cutting with it, I was hitting into the sharpening choil a little bit, which is a good sharpening choil. I need them to bring that plunge back a little bit. I might actually, instead, because it has so much cutting edge, I might just push out the forward finger choil, just bring it out to maybe like about here, like so, and just leave the flipper tab there, because I kind of like having the dual means of deployment. I have to think about it to see if I want to do any of that or not. It is a budget knife, great user, great price, really good action and build quality and everything for what you're getting with this knife. I really like it a lot, guys. Let me know what you're thinking about the Keryx. Do you like this one or not? Shout out to everyone out there that likes, comments, uses the links, and is subscribed. Shout out to my channel members. Thank you for being a member and getting that early access. I hope all of you have a fantastic week. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.